Welcome to your daily dose of sci-fi adventures. New stories dropped every single day. Smash that subscribe button and ring the to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and unlock even more epic cosmic tales. Alara Marish stood alone on the broad observation deck of the Earth Council Citadel, her silhouette framed against the vast panorama of the planet she once called home. The chamber's transparent alloy wall curved overhead like a cathedral's vaulted ceiling, but the grandiosity of the architecture felt hollow without the thrumming heartbeat of humanity to give it life. Below her, the world lay muted, continents half shrouded in drifting clouds, oceans that glinted silver in the waning sunlight, and cityscapes sprawled across plains and coasts, all devoid of movement, as though frozen in a single, breathless moment. She pressed a fingertip to the cool surface, her gloved hand leaving a slight smudge against the crystal clarity. Once, she had spent countless hours here, coordinating global initiatives, climate remediation protocols, asteroid deflection strategies, and long-range communications with the Ark ships as they prepared for launch. But now the holographic interfaces were dormant, the Council's grand consoles silent except for the soft pulse of standby indicators. Alara's mission had shifted from policy and oversight to something far more personal: remembrance. Behind her, the Citadel's vast hallways extended into darkness. Formerly, they buzzed with technicians, diplomats, and assistants on urgent errands. Now, only the mechanical footfalls of service drones scuttled through echoing corridors, performing maintenance on critical systems that ensured the station itself did not become another ruin. Alara had debated whether to deactivate them all and allow the Citadel to fall silent too, but she could not bear the thought of total abandonment. She turned away from the viewport and walked toward the central chamber. En route, she paused at alcoves displaying Earth's storied past. Hololithic murals painted by the last generation of Earth's artists told the tale of civilization's rise, the forging of the first steel beams, the moment the Wright brothers took flight, the triumph of landing a rover on Mars. Alara let her fingers trace the raised lines of one mural depicting the first successful fusion reactor. The era of boundless energy had been short-lived. Its promise had been eclipsed by a more urgent imperative: Exodus. The Exodus, as historians would later call it, was the grandest project ever undertaken by humankind. Under the Council's directive, thousands of Ark ships, each larger than many of Earth's continents, had been constructed in orbit and on isolated shipyards scattered across the Pacific and Atlantic. Their mission: to ferry select representatives of every culture, creed, and discipline to terraformed worlds in distant star systems. Alara, as the Council's lead envoy to the Interstellar Colonization Committee, had argued fiercely for robust cultural representation on every vessel. She'd insisted that no society be left without a voice, lest the diaspora lose its unity. Yet, despite her efforts, not everyone had made it aboard. Overcrowding, resource constraints, and last-minute engineering failures had forced agonizing decisions. Alara still carried the weight of those choices with her like a scar. She would often replay the Council meetings in her mind, the reverberating gavel strikes, the comforting yet hollow words of solidarity, and the solemn faces of delegates forced to vote on impossible amendments. When the final vote closed and the last Ark ship engines ignited in concentric rings of plasma, she had watched through the observation bay as the first ship soared beyond the atmosphere, a pillar of fire ascending into the black. Back then, the air had trembled with hope. Today, it only trembled with dust particles swirling in a light breeze that filtered in through environment. Tall ports to regulate pressure. Earth was breathable again, but in the service of caring for the few remaining keepers of the planet, not the billions who once called it home. Reaching the heart of the Citadel, Alara entered the Council's grand rotunda, a circular chamber. It contained concentric tiers of seats ranged amphitheater style, all directed toward a central dais. From this vantage point, every delegate had been able to see one another, promoting transparency and debate. Now, the tiers were empty, and their plush seats sagged as if relieved not to bear the weight of human bodies. The dais's data console, once alive with shifting star charts and resource readouts, flickered with a single warning: storage full, archive data pending deletion. Alara approached the console and activated an offline playback. The last council session began to loop. She watched Chancellor Imani Roskov's impassioned farewell speech, her voice steady even as tears glistened at the corners of her eyes. Fellow citizens of Earth, the hologram intoned, our role as stewards of this world has reached its fulfillment. We have conquered the limitations of gravity, mapped the furthest reaches of our solar system, and now we embark on the greatest journey of all. Though we depart, we leave behind the mantle for future life, biological and artificial, to inherit. May Earth flourish once more, unburdened by the weight of our ambitions. Each time Chancellor Roscov uttered those words, Alara felt a fresh pang of loss. The video feed cut away before the final motion of adjournment. No one recorded the procedural details of dissolution, only the symbolic act. The council had ended not with a riot of celebration, but with the quiet collapse of its purpose. A soft chime interrupted the replay. The station's internal comm system crackled to life with an automated alert. Urgent. Seismic activity detected at Lagrange to Arc ship construction platform. Structural integrity at risk. Immediate assessment required. Alara frowned. She accessed the platform's schematic. Even years after departure, the skeletal remains of half-built Arc ships lingered at Lagrange Point L2, awaiting their resurrection or controlled deorbit. With the council gone, oversight had lapsed. The platform was drifting out of alignment, likely exacerbated by micrometeoroid impacts and thermal stresses. She keyed a command to the service drones. Dispatch structural analysis units to L2. Though she had no authority now and no one to receive her orders, the drones would obey. Regulations governing automated planetary preservation remained in effect until a formal decommissioning plan was enacted. As long as the Citadel's core systems ran, she could still protect Earth's legacy. Yet even as she issued the command, her mind returned to the stillness below. Many of Earth's denizens had chosen the exodus. A few, like her, had opted to stay behind and ensure the cradle remained safe. The vision was that she and a small cadre of specialists would one day rejoin the off-world colonies, bringing lessons learned and safeguarding cultural continuity. But time had stretched thin, and with each passing year, communication with the Arc ships had grown intermittent. Alara's messages often went unanswered, and the faint hum of Earth's relay networks eventually fell silent. She realized, with a sudden clarity, that she had become both curator and mourner of a world left to its own devices. The planet was healing deserts, blooming with seeds long dormant, forests reclaiming cleared fields, wildlife flourishing in the absence of human interference. Humanity's final act might not be conquest, but withdrawal, and Earth, relieved of its greatest burden, was breathing again. Alara exhaled slowly, her breath fogging the glass for a heartbeat before the environmental scrubbers cleared it away. The sky before her shifted through twilight into the deep purples of night, and the first stars of Earth's evening emerged. Orion's belt gleamed, a reminder that beyond her world lay the path her peers had taken. Somewhere among those pinpricks of light, the Arc ships traveled onward, carrying humanity's scattered hope. Raising her hand in silent salute, she whispered, "Sleep well, my home. I'll keep watch." And in that moment, Earth's hush felt less like abandonment and more like a kindness, a final gift from a civilization too burdened to care, yet unwilling to destroy. The silence was not the end, but the space before a new beginning, patiently waiting for the next act of this grand cosmic play. The Resolute's ion engines cut out with a gentle sigh as it coasted into a decaying orbit around Earth. From the docking bay's viewport, Captain Harun Voss watched the planet of his birth shrink into a mottled blue and green marble, streaked with wisps of white cloud. He felt a tug of nostalgia and something darker, a pang of guilt at having left it behind. "Touchdown in 10 minutes, intoned Chris, the ship's AI, its voice calm and neutral. Harun nodded, though he knew Chris could neither see nor understand the emotions behind the gesture. By the time the small exploration rover, an armored six-wheeler dubbed Argo, rolled out of the hangar, Earth's surface had resolved into familiar patterns, continents marked by great mountain ranges, great inland seas, and sprawling cities whose lights now lay cold. Harun keyed the rover's navigation system, Earth Council Citadel, coordinates locked. The approach path threaded between empty skyways and defunct orbital platforms. Haroun studied the jagged silhouette of the oldest Arkship construction yards long abandoned. Skeletons of steel that once bustled with assembly drones and welding arcs. Now, fragments of plating drifted free like spaceborne corals. Orbital debris fields clinked against one another in silent testimony to time's slow corrosion. After a brief orbital survey, Argo descended, setting down on the planned landing. Stripped with the faintest of puffs, its ramps descended. Haroun stepped into the open air, breathing filtered oxygen tinged with metallic tang. Beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Quinn secured a portable scanner to her belt. No life signs within a kilometer. "Captain," she reported, "atmospheric readings nominal, radiation nominal, no sign of residual human occupation." Haroun checked his own tablet. Structural integrity readings showed the Citadel's outer shell at 92%. A meteor strike 6 months prior had dented the western wing's observation deck, but automated repair drones had patched it. He activated his voice recorder. "Captain's log, arrival at Earth Council Citadel. Objective, investigate residual beacon signals. Assess viability of reestablishing command node for off-world survivors." They crossed the desolate plaza leading to the Citadel's main entrance. The great bronze doors, plated with gleaming symbols of unity, a ring of human figures hand in hand hung open on rusted hinges. Beyond, dim emergency lighting sputtered, casting long shadows against marble floors cracked by seismic shifts. The lobby was a cavernous space, lined with statues of the Council's founding members. To Haroun's left stood a weathered bronze likeness of Chancellor Roscoe, her features stern yet compassionate. Dust had coated her outstretched hand, as though reminding any who entered that her grasp no longer held sway. Lieutenant Quinn trained her scanner on the walls. "Electromagnetic readings are spiking from deeper within the structure," she said. "Minimal power source localized." Haroun swallowed. "Follow the readings." They advanced through hollowed corridors, past galleries of once celebrated achievements, murals of terraforming Mars, of the first fusion power grid, of the arc ships amidst rings of plasma. Many had been defaced by time walls peeled, pigment bleached by stray solar radiation. Yet here and there, heartening signs of reclamation appeared. Hardy moss snaked through fissures, and bioluminescent fungi glowed faintly in shadowed alcoves. At the base of a grand spiral staircase, the scanner went wild. Haroun motioned for silence. Even Chris fell mute, save for the software of its processing. They crouched before a reinforced blast door, its outer panel dented inward. Strange glyphs, council seals crossed by slash marks, were scratched into the metal, as though someone had tried to ward off entry. Haroun's gloved hand found the manual override. With a hiss of hydraulics, the door slid aside, revealing a cylindrical shaft lit by dying emergency lamps. Yellow hazard tape fluttered at the edge, warning of a drop. Quinn deployed a tether and descended, followed by Haroun. At the bottom lay a subbasement laboratory, one of many buried beneath the Citadel for secure research. Here, the scanner's glow centered on a sealed airlock. The console beside it flickered. "Access restricted." Haroun keyed in his clearance codes from the old Council registry, stored in his captain's authentication module. After a heartbeat, the door slid open. Inside stood a single, glass-encased chamber. Within it floated a data cube no larger than a human palm, ensconced in a levitation field. The airlock had been vented. The chamber itself was bone dry. Haroun stepped closer, pulling on a latex glove as Chris projected a holographic readout. Object, HDC-1 data archive cube. Origin, Earth Council Citadel. Sublevel for status, encrypted. Partial power reached to unplug the cube's containment. Tethers when a low hum reverberated through the lab. Lights flickered, and the tethers retracted. The chamber doors began to close. "Chris, stop containment sequence." Haroun barked. The AI's voice crackled. No response. Manual override unsuccessful. The hum crescendoed. Haroun seized the cube. Its surface was warm, thrumming with dormant energy. The moment he touched it, the field collapsed. Lights steadied. The doors remained ajar. In the sudden stillness, they stared at one another. Quinn exhaled. I think it wants to be found. They emerged into the main rotunda, data cube secured in Haroon's satchel. The cavernous space had grown more forbidding in their absence. Seats angled like open jaws, waiting for a crowd that would never return. Haroon accessed the cube with a portable decryptor pad. Archive protocols loaded layers of encryption peeling back like petals. Fragments of data streams appeared. Council session logs, personal journals, even private messages between delegates. Many files were corrupted or incomplete, as centuries old. Data often is, but one file glowed with intact integrity. Final_closure_message.hdr.haru hesitated, recalling the gravity of the council's last act. We need context, he murmured. Better to bring this back to the Resolute for full analysis. Quinn nodded, logging the cube's metadata for transport. Before they could depart, a tremor shook the rotunda. Dust rained from the vaulted ceiling. A segment of the balcony above groaned ominously. Haroon steadied himself against a pillar. Seismic aftershock, Chris reported. Magnitude 4.2. Localized structural compromise ahead. The shockwave had triggered partial collapses in the corridor. Behind them, retracing their steps would take hours with further risk. Haroon made a decision. Quinn, access the Citadel's maintenance subnetwork. Find an alternative exit surface elevator. Maintenance shaft, anything. Lieutenant Quinn ducked into a side alcove, unspooling a data cable to her pad. A minute later she looked up, brow furrowed. There's a freight elevator near the East Wing. Requires a dual-auth override council grade. It's powered by legacy generators. Should be online. Haroon exhaled, relief mingling with urgency. Lead the way. They sprinted down dim galleries, past collapsed sections and glowing fungal mats. Finally, they reached the freight elevator, its doors sealed by reinforced shutters. Quinn keyed. Her override. The shutters twitched and dropped with rusty protests. The doors slid open to reveal a metal cage, its cables taut. They boarded, sealing the doors behind them. Haroon keyed the control pad, level ground deck 1. The cage shuddered, then descended into darkness. Haroon held the cube to his chest. Whatever's inside, it's a message from our past, he said softly. A message they meant for us to receive. Quinn studied him. And maybe a message for the colonies. Captain, if the council knew, contact would fail. Maybe this is Plan B, Haroon nodded. Or Plan A. If this station was ever rediscovered, Earth's final beacon. The freight elevator reached the exit level with a mechanical clunk. The doors opened onto the desolate plaza once more. The twin moons of Earth mirrored reflections of Luna's far side hung low in the sky. As if bearing witness, Haroon looked toward the Resolute, waiting silently on the landing pad. Tomorrow, they would decode the cube, unveil the Council's hidden communique, and follow its lead to the scattered remnants of humanity. But tonight, beneath the silent vault of stars, Haroon Voss felt the weight of history in his hands, and he knew that the ghosts of the Council were not at rest until their last words were heard. The Resolute drifted in silent orbit above Earth, its hull bathed in the pale light of a distant sun. Inside the command module, consoles flickered with low-power glows, and the soft hum of the fusion core resonated through the deck plates. Captain Haroon Voss stood at the central holoconsole, the precious data cube cradled in both hands. Across from him, Dr. Alara Marish, now the ship's chief archivist, tapped her compad, readying the decryption protocols. Power levels. Nominal, intone Chris, the ship's AI, its voice smooth as tempered glass. Beginning low-frequency flood of archive power. Cube should reach operational capacity in 30 seconds. Haroon exhaled slowly, watching the energy bars climb. This cube was the only uncorrupted relic of the Council's final act, their parting message to humanity. On Earth, the Citadel's holograms had looped Chancellor Roskov's public farewell. Here they would hear the unfiltered truth. 30 seconds later, a soft chime signaled readiness. Alara drew a gloved finger across the console. A grid of shimmering runes appeared, overlaying the cube's surface. The encryption schema is archaic, she murmured, brow furrowed. Council tech from before the Exodus used a triple layer. Quantum lock. It's going to take a few cycles to peel back the subroutines. Haroon nodded. studying the runes as they fractured and dissolved. "Take your time," he said. Though his heart pounded, every tick of the decryption sequence carried the weight of centuries. In the adjacent observation lounge, Lieutenant Sarah Quinn and Navigator Jiro Teshi exchanged glances. They had volunteered to remain with the Resolute when most of the crew transferred to colony vessels. The prospect of rediscovering lost Ark ships had lured them back. Now, they waited with bated breath. "Think there's anything else on the cube?" Quinn whispered. Teshi shrugged. If the Council was thorough, maybe ship manifests, coordinates, journals, hell, maybe even personal logs. "Personal logs," Quinn echoed. "Imagine hearing the last thoughts of someone who never made it off Earth." Teshi's expression darkened. "Or someone who died in transit." A distant hum vibrated through the deck as Haroon and Alara's console chimed again. Alara straightened. "We're through the first encryption layer. Beginning integrity check on data fragments." Haroon leaned forward. "What's the status?" 87% of files intact," Alara replied. "I'm isolating the highest priority file, now labeled Chancellor_Final_Com. That should be the true farewell." Haroon's throat tightened. "Play it." On the holopad, a single point of light coalesced into the dignified form of High Chancellor Imani Roscov. She stood alone in the council chamber's center, robes shimmering with a subtle iridescence that flickered in the projection. "Fellow survivors." Her voice resonated, firm yet warm. "If you view this, then Earth's last sons and daughters have departed. We made a covenant to preserve our home, to seek new horizons, and to carry the spirit of unity among the stars. Our council has dissolved, its purpose fulfilled. Yet one final command remains." Her eyes, even in holographic form, held both sorrow and hope. Roscov raised a slender hand, and beside her, 3 points of light emerged on a star chart coordinates, anchored to Proxima Centauri's system. "These are the beacons we have set. Each marks the intended rendezvous for Ark ships that lost contact during the Exodus. Beacon Alpha Proxima B orbit, Sub-Ice Plateau Beacon Beta Lagrange, Cloud Field, Inner Halo Beacon Gamma Complex, Outer Coma. If you receive this message, you are the inheritors of our legacy. Seek out these beacons, find one another, reforge humanity's tapestry, not as conquerors of the void, but as stewards of what we have become." The projection wavered, Roscov's lips forming a final silent unity, before collapsing into static. Silence filled the lounge. Haroon pressed a gloved palm to the console's rail. "They planned for failure." Alara nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "They knew communication lines would falter. They left a trail for us to follow." Quinn exhaled. 3 beacons. Proxima Centauri, our closest neighbor. It makes sense. But why the Urt complex? Haroon shook his head, still processing. Perhaps they wanted to scatter the beacons, one near the habitable world, one near the orbital cluster, one deep in the system's ice frontier. It's a breadcrumb trail, guiding different ships along staggered paths so we can find them wherever they strayed. Navigator Teshi tapped his console. Star charts updated, plotting a course, first to Proxima B, then to the Cloud Field, then to the Urt beacon. Fuel estimates. We can do it. With mid-journey refueling at Titan. "Good," Haroon said. He met Alara's gaze. "Inform the crew. We departed for hours." Alara's nod was brisk. "I'll assemble a decoding team, linguists, historians, AI specialists. We'll need to interpret any secondary messages. It's not just data we'll find," Haroon added. "Whatever's out there, survivors will be the first to welcome them home." In the crew briefing room, Haroon stood before a projection of Proxima Centauri's system. Officers and specialists filled the tiered benches, their faces drawn with anticipation. He cleared his throat. "Last night, we recovered the Earth Council's final communique. They foresaw our isolation and prepared 3 rendezvous beacons in Proxima Centauri. Behind him, the beacons gleamed on the star map. Our mission: locate Beacon Alpha on Proxima B, assess any survivors or archives, then proceed to Beta and Gamma. We rendezvous at each point to gather lost crews if they exist and bring them back to the colonies." A ripple of murmurs ran through the room. Dr. Lena Moreno, chief biologist, raised a hand. "Captain, any indication of what state the colonies are in?" Our last contact was 5 years ago. Haroon paused. We have no updates beyond standard drift reports. This mission is vital not just to reunite survivors, but to reestablish long-range communications. He let that hang. The weight of unknown fates pressed on every soul. Engineer Vrax, a towering xenomechanic from Titan Station, frowned. Radiation belts around Proxima B are unstable. Our shields can handle it for short bursts, but we'll need to plan our descent carefully. Navigator Teshi interjected. I've plotted to high-altitude orbital insertion points to minimize exposure. It adds 3 days, but it's safer. Haroon nodded. Do it. Finally, he locked eyes with the youngest crew member, Ensign Reyna Duval. You'll oversee the initial beacon scan and contact protocols. Any distress signal or life sign, you have authorization to respond immediately. Reyna swallowed, voice steady. Understood, sir. Haroon closed the briefing. This is our chance to heal the fractures of the Exodus. We carry Earth's last promise. Let us not fail. In the hangar bay, the exploration skiffs were readied. Technicians loaded sensor rays, life pods, and emergency rations. Haroon lingered by his own ship, the Starward, its polished hull gleaming. Beside it, Dr. Marish carried a stack of archive drives. She paused. Captain, she said softly, I found secondary logs on the cube journals from the Odysseys crew. They detail near-catastrophic failures, but also breakthroughs in closed-loop agriculture. If intact, those records could revolutionize colony sustainability. Haroon smiled, tension easing. Then after Proxima, we'll stop at the Odysseys' drift coordinates. We'll salvage their archives too. Alara nodded, eyes alight. We'll piece together the story of our scattered children. Haroon placed a hand on her shoulder. Tonight, we carry Earth's final signal into the void. Tomorrow, that signal becomes our guiding star. As they strode toward the skiff's ramp, the Resolute's engines hummed to full power. Through the hangar's viewport, stars winked in the endless night. Somewhere out there, the Council's beacons pulsed, with lonely hope waiting for humanity to answer its last call. The Resolute slipped out of hyperspace with scarcely a cough, the inertial dampeners sparing the crew from any harsh jolt. Before them sprawled the pale blue orb of Proxima B, suspended in the gentle glow of its red dwarf sun. Navigator Jiro. Teshi's voice crackled over the comms. Beacon Alpha detected. Emission centered at 14.3 degrees south latitude, 226.7 degrees east longitude. Signal strength at 74%. Captain Haroon Voss stood on the bridge, flanked by Dr. Alara Marish and Lieutenant Sarah Quinn. The holo projection before them highlighted the beacon's location, nestled in the sprawling fields of the equatorial sea, once thought lifeless, but now revealed to be a shallow inland basin. Waves of faint red light rippled across the water's surface in the live sensor feed, an artificial glow pulsing in time with the beacon's transmission. Lower the survey skiffs, Haroon ordered. Maintain hull integrity protocols and minimal emissions. We don't know what or who we'll find. Descent onto the shallow sea. The exploration skiff Sea Dart dove through Proxima B's thin atmosphere, skimming the rippled red water. Below, fields of crystalline structures formerly believed to be salt flats reflected the beacon's glow. Like a jeweled mosaic, Alara sat at the sensor console, breathless. These aren't natural crystals, she murmured, toggling spectro analyzers. They're aligned in hexagonal arrays manufactured, and organic signatures. Lieutenant Quinn guided the skiff toward a raised platform, a dais of polished stone standing half-submerged, crowned by a solitary obelisk thrumming with light. At its base, a shallow circuit of etched glyphs traced a spiral pattern. Haroon's suit thrusters lit gently as he stepped onto the platform, Alara close behind. The obelisk's surface was cool under his gloves, engraved with the Council's symbol, a ring of hands. But here it was encircled by 3 smaller rings, each matching a beacon's rune. He tapped the glyphs. They glowed white in sequence. Alara, record this pattern. It matches a data key in the cube's archives, he said. She nodded, eyes shining. They activated the portable decryption LiDAR, which projected a sequence of holographic lines into the air. The beacon's pulse slowed, then doubled in intensity. As though acknowledging a recognized code, Beneath the obelisk, vents hissed, disgorging warm mist. From the water, figures emerged, clad in rebrothers suits, gaunt but upright, their eyes reflecting the beacon's red light. Harun raised a hand. "Friends," he called out, "we come in peace off the Earth Ark ship Resolute. We answer your beacon." The figures paused, hesitation in their posture. Then one stepped forward, lowering his helmet, a silver-skinned emissary with eyes the color of molten iron. He spoke in accented common, voice faint, "Welcome, Earth returners." His companions removed their helmets. To doctors, engineers, scientists, all survivors of the Ark ship Endeavor, lost during the Exodus. Their leader, Commander Sarah Dav, bowed. "We thought we were alone." Rekindling the flame gathered on the platform's rim, the two parties exchanged stories. The Endeavor had suffered massive drive failures and atmospheric contamination, forcing an emergency water landing centuries ago. They preserved themselves in stasis chambers beside the beacon, emerging only when automated systems authenticated the Council's code. When they stepped out, the world around them had already given birth to these crystalline organisms, part biotic, part mineral, nurtured by the beacon's energy and local microbes. Over generations, they had learned to harness the planet's resources, but every dusk they gazed at the red horizon, wondering if anyone would come. Alara recorded every word, tears in her eyes. "Your journals, your innovations will save entire worlds," she said. "Imagine the closed-loop ecosystems you perfected here, feeding colonies across the galaxy." Commander Doff's expression softened. "We share everything we have, but our greatest gift is this proof. No one is truly lost." Beacon Beta, the Lagrange Halo with new allies aboard. The Resolute resumed its voyage to Beacon Beta. The Lagrange cloud field lay between Proxima b and its outer gas giant, a wispy ring of ice particles and dust. The beacon's signal wove through the debris, a steady pulse amidst the cosmic drift. Technician Vrax led the salvage teams in charged scoops, capturing particles without disturbing the orbit. At the center of the cloud, they discovered the remnants of the Ark ship Pioneer, its hull fractured, but hull-integrated habitat modules intact. Inside, they found half-suspended crew and regenerative pods, genetic engineers who'd succumbed to a terraforming virus, but were restored by onboard medical nanites. Patient logs described their victory over the pathogen and the refinement of a universal vaccine. Harun watched the medical team revive the pod occupants. "This vaccine, combined with Endeavor's agricultural breakthroughs, we can eradicate famine and disease across all colonies," he mused. Dr. Moreno, the ship's lead biologist, nodded. "We'll distribute these protocols immediately. This is more than rescue, it's a renaissance." Beacon Gamma, the Oort frontier, the final leg carried them into the dim reaches of Proxima's Oort complex. Ice comets streaking past like frozen wanderers. The Gamma beacon sat within a benthic ship graveyard. The Odyssey lay fractured among shards of its sister vessels. A team of archaeologists and AI specialists entered the hull, guided by the beacon's coordinates. In the command center, intact, holographic projectors flickered to life, reenacting the last moments before the Odyssey's catastrophic engine failure. Personal logs addressed to loved ones shimmered in the gloom, sonnets, prayers, cheers of discovery. Among the wreckage, they found the Dream Engine, a prototype fusion drive never tested in flight. Its schematics were pristine. Engineer Vrax grinned. "If we rebuild this, powered by quantum boundary fields, we could have our travel times." Harun looked at the holographic facade of Captain Lin Su. Her recorded final words echoed. "Carry our ambitions farther by our mistakes. Learn excellence." Alara bowed before the image. "We will, Captain." A new dawn with survivors and knowledge gathered. The Resolute set course for the nearest colony hub, Titan Station. As Proxima's red glow faded in the viewport, Harun addressed the crew. "One last time, we carried Earth's final message. We found our brothers and sisters, lost but not forgotten. We salvaged seeds of hope, agriculture, medicine, propulsion, and we return not as wanderers, but as the authors of a brighter future. Let this voyage stand as proof that the Council's legacy endures. We build not on ruins, but on the foundations they left behind." The crew erupted in applause. Commander Dav and her team stood beside Alara, their faces hopeful. Engineer Vrax clapped Haroon on the shoulder. Ready for the next chapter? He asked. Haroon smiled. Gazing out at the stars, we've only just begun. Below, Proxima Centauri dwindled to a point of red light. Ahead, Titan's glow beckoned white-hot in the Jovian system. Between them lay humanity's path, a tapestry woven from the Council's final beacons, guided by unity, perseverance, and the quiet knowledge that even in departure, humanity never truly fades.